finishing nursing school with 5 kids, working, and then getting to this point. The goal was always to be able to have a job to where I made enough money, because my mom taught me very young, make more money than your husband because you really don't know, when he's going to leave.
Welcome to Women and Work, the show where we focus on our unique challenges, whether we're climbing the corporate ladder, growing our own business, or navigating the complex juggle of career and kids. I'm Diane Moca, founder and CEO of the childcare app MomSub, like a substitute mom. Today we meet one of many women making work fit her life. The interview was done in the past, but the insights are just as relevant today. Give me a little history of your personal situation. How many kids do you have? Are you married? Those kind of things.
Okay, so I have 6 children. They range 20, soon to be 23, down to soon to be 5. And I am married, 2 dogs, and I do Mary Cake for a living.
Okay. So, wow, that's a lot of kids. And so let's go back to your journey of motherhood. Okay, when you were pregnant with your first child, were you working? And did you think about, okay, what's going to happen with my work life? Did you have a career? Were you in school? Like, what was the trajectory of your life, and did it adjust when you said, I'm ready to have a family?
Well, I was actually pretty young when I had my first child. So I was not working. I was pretty much just out of high school. But knowing that, I was pretty much going into single motherhood, I definitely knew and had accepted the fact that I was going to be the only one to be able to provide for him. So I got to stay home for about 6 months and then realized, no, this is the time to just, pick it up and really start going. And so I started working in the food industry, waiting tables, eventually bartending when I got to that age, and then putting myself through college with him, while adding 2 more to the picture at that time. Yeah. So my story is quite different from, your, I guess, typical average working mother. But then again, I think there are a lot of familiar stories too, just not heard.
And there's really not a typical average. When you think you see the typical average, it's not always what you think. So you said you were off, you didn't work for 6 months, so you were living at home with parents. They were helping?
I was living at the his dad's parents. But yeah, then I did go back home and started working because my parents were the ones that were helping out a lot. Fortunately, my mom worked from home. She started a home business when I was growing up. So she was able to be stay-at-home grandmother plus run her business as well. So that was a plus, and I was definitely blessed to have my mother there to be able to help out.
So at 6 months old with your first child, you went to work full time, and he stayed with grandma who had a home-based business. And have you been working full time ever since? No. I don't know. But, then give me a quick little synopsis of how things changed. A couple kids came along. When did you get married? And kind of weave in the work during that time period. What happened with your working situation?
Okay. So there's always adding children in between having children. So with each child that I had, I would stay home with them as long as I possibly could. Again, I put myself through college with, I said when Anthony, my oldest one, turned 5 years old, that's when I would go back to school. And that's what my goal was, and that's what I did. And then I had 2 more along the way. Also, again, working, going to school, staying home. I think with number 2, I didn't get to stay home as long as I did. Number 3, I had her actually while I was in school, different type of school this time. It was for medical assistant. Ended up giving birth to her during my externship. Even though I was hired on where I did my externship, it was hard to be able to nurse and do the whole pumping at work thing. So I did let go of that job. Again, my parents still helping me out. And then, let's see, about a year after that is when my husband came into my life. So we, got engaged and all that, ended up having our 3 daughters together. So that's where we get the 6. But I was still able to, stay home with each one afterwards. But I did always work. I would say last 3, I might have did a little bit more than the 6 weeks, your normal maternity leave. I always tried to stay at home as long as I possibly could, but, with obviously having the 6 and nowadays needing the double income. Before actually starting my Mary Kay business, I had 2 jobs at that time. So yeah, this is a lot to try to wrap all into, a few minutes. But long story short, finishing nursing school with 5 kids, working and then getting to this point, the goal was always to be able to have a job to where I made enough money, because my mom taught me very young, make more money than your husband because you really don't know, when he's going to leave. So she always taught me to be independent, which my parents are still married to this day, but I'm glad that she did that because that just taught me that you can't depend on anybody, and nobody should ever depend on anybody. So I've always been very independent. But with all the children and the things I had been through with my children, pneumonia and emergency C-section, just, stuff that happens in life, I always wanted something to where I was my own boss and I could stay at home when I needed to stay at home. And so coming up to the point where I started my own business, I was actually working in a nursing home at that time, a residential care facility, weekend option, and also driving a school bus. So I'm one of those, I'll try anything. But
neither of those pay well.
No, not at all. And medical field, you don't get to take off when you need to take off. You can't find somebody to cover your shift. And I did weekend option. So weekend option, nobody wants to work weekends. Nobody wants to work holidays. And you have mandatory holidays. So that's why I really wanted to get out. I thought nursing would be it for me, when I went to school for medical assistant, and thought, oh, this is not enough money. I need more. So then went into nursing. No, I don't get to take off when I need off. And I also fell into that trap of being the person that would always stay when the next shift didn't show, or, they would call me in, I would go in. So, because I just, I felt nobody could do the job. And I wanted to make sure my residents were taken care of.
What about your kids? During all this time, you're such a diehard, dedicated worker. Did you feel like, I'm missing some things with my kids? I wish I could be there. I'm not there for the games, or I'm not there to help with homework. And what was going through your mind during those periods?
Oh, for sure. I look back now and I share with women all the time. While I was working, my children were growing. I would look at them a week later and it was like, take a really good look at them. I had been home, obviously, but when you finally have a moment to sit down and you just look at your child and you're like, when did you grow? When did you get that tall? What's going on in school? So many things had changed. And I will say I've been blessed with a good husband. He's had to learn a lot as far as becoming a good father, which I'm sure a lot of mothers can relate to what I'm saying. But there's things that they know, that he knows about them, that I didn't know about them. And I'm like, wow, I'm missing here. I thought that I had everything figured out, working weekends, and then driving the school bus. But I didn't, because I wasn't present. It was always like, well, I was worried about this job, that job, or like, what else could I be doing? There's something else out there. I think that's actually what had me the most, was there's something else out there that I'm supposed to be doing that will allow me to do what I need to do with my children and be home for them, be there for my husband and the rest of my family.
Would you change anything, or would you give any advice to any woman who's maybe in a similar situation to you, that if I knew then what I know now, I'd tell you to do this or not do this? Or do you feel like, no, everything, I'm happy with the way everything went?
To be honest, I wouldn't change anything, because then I wouldn't be who I am today.
But if you had advice to give the younger you or someone like you,
and if I had advice, this is what I feel I was made to do, is to get this out there. Definitely nothing until you're married. Just do everything the right way. Follow your dreams. Do what you want to do. I know my mom tried to instill that in me, but I was just a little bit on the rebellious side and did my own thing. But I would just say take time to do you first so that you have the time to give to your children that they deserve and that they need because they need you. And when you're all over the place trying to figure things out and trying to pay the bills and just give them that life that they deserve, you're not there. So, you're not present for them. So, do what you want to do. Get, your vacations, your schooling, all of that out of the way. Not saying you can't do it, while you have children, but get all of that out of the way so that you can be the mom that you want to be and you don't have the distractions and everybody pulling you, in all the different directions.
So are you a different mom to your 5-year-old now than you were to your first 5-year-old?
Definitely.
How?
Oh my gosh, if I can say this without crying, because I think about this often. With my 5-year-old, my first 5-year-old, I wasn't there. I was working and paying the bills and striving to give him his best life. I look at my daughter now, who's almost 5, and I can't tell her I love her enough, I can't hug her enough. I can't leave that house without her saying, Mommy, I need hugs and kisses, and I'm not going to forget to give her hugs and kisses. It wasn't like that with the first, because I was just so busy and worried about our future. So I've definitely learned a lot throughout the years and with all of the children, what matters and what doesn't matter. And time with them is what matters, and being present and being able to have something that I can say, I do what I want when I want, I work when I want, and when I want to be with my children and my family, I'm with my children and my family.
So you're an advocate of work from home, have your own business, not work for someone else. And so that's as a result of now having lived that life. How is your life different now, having lived that life for 3 years than all the years you were working for someone else? I know you mentioned not having, the time off when you wanted, but what other things?
Well, the fact that I am doing me, I'm not out there doing living for somebody else's dream. I'm working for my dreams, my family. I can never go back to working for a paycheck. It will never happen. Sometimes we joke around and we talk about, what it would be like to interview for a job. I don't know. I can't remember what it was like to interview for a job. I'm not going to. I don't want to. I don't have the desire to.
And are you being a different kind of role model for your children, especially your daughters, than you think you were when you were, hey, work hard in the working world and bring home that as big a paycheck as you can?
Definitely. I can see a little bit more of my mom coming out in me as well, because she, she was an entrepreneur. She did her own had her own business. But definitely teaching my daughters to be strong, stand up for yourself, do what you want to do, don't fall underneath, that don't give yourself a ceiling. You can do whatever you want. And it's about you. It's about them. It's not about somebody else and making their dreams come true, while you stay here. And they do. They're learning and they voice it sometimes, I've had, sometimes they make the remarks, oh, mom, work. But then yesterday, my 10-year-old said, but mom gets to go on field trips with us. Some other kids' moms don't. I said, you're right. So, you work hard, but it pays off, especially for those moments like that.
And of course, you said when you first started with children, you were worried about paying the bills and making sure you were putting money aside for the future. But the worry as a mother never goes away. Mm-hmm. So you may not be worrying about that now in the same way, but do you worry about, am I cooking healthy enough food? Am I buying organic? Am I, are you worried about other kinds of things? What do you do? Because we hear so much more now than when you first started having kids about the food, about, the things they drink, about about the electronics. So you still have one in the midst of, you still have kids in the midst of, growing up, even though you've been through it already. So how do you address some of those worries about taking care of giving them healthy food and healthy things for their minds? How much is that a worry for you?
Well, that has always been something very, very, very important to me. So I don't know if I would call it nutrition-wise so much a worry. Electronics, definitely, because kids today, that's all they do is, electronics for everything. And it's in the school starts them out. So it's kind of hard to control even at home. But now there's more choices. It's not, I always try to stay away from your TV dinners, McDonald's. Oh, McDonald's. It is a go-to for my husband though, so I can't lie and I can't
With the
complain
kids?
about yes. Which, like I said, he's done a lot. He's built a relationship with them, and that's
And
another.
he works?
He
Full
does
time?
work. Yes, full time.
Out of the home?
Not out of the home. He works for somebody else still. He's in construction. But that was one of the reasons why I started my business as well, because, and I will share this, because I share this all the time with women. When I started my business, we were at the point where I voiced, I don't remember signing up to be a single mom with 6 kids. I worked 2 jobs as well, So doing something that gave us more income to where he didn't have to work so much, because it took a toll on our marriage, me having the 2 jobs. Plus, I was a perfectionist back then. Everything had to be perfect. And I've learned since then, that doesn't matter. That does not matter. It's the time that matters. So, the worries, we try to be as healthy as possible. And I'd say we pretty much are, except for the nights that my husband uses the, fast food as his go-to. But that's okay. That doesn't matter.
And how do you think your self-care has changed or improved since you've become your own boss? Was it always something you thought about, or when you were just so busy working and having kids and then falling in love and getting married, did your own self-care fall by the wayside? Were you doing your makeup? Were you doing your nails? Were you going out every day feeling good? Or was that not so much then and more so now? And how did you come to this point?
No, none of that was important. There was always, the next thing, what else can I do to be better, as far as just because of the situations I had been in with, as a single mom of 3 kids, the mindset of always having to make sure that I could fend for us, and then adding the 3 more. I mean, not saying, I would ever divorce, but I definitely put more time into myself now. And it's kind of a funny story, but after starting my business, my second son saw me walking down the stairs one day, and he said, "Mom, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "You look really sick." I didn't have any makeup on. I'm like, 2 weeks ago. This was maybe a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks after starting my business. So that kind of tells you, the confidence, what happened there. I said, just a few weeks ago, this was my everyday look. Now I look sick. So that kind of, taught me, maybe I need to really make sure, I do put that face on, because that was kind of a blah day for me, So again, learning from my children that taking care of yourself is pretty important. But yes, I definitely, nails done, toes done, always looking sharp, because you feel so much better. It's so much better when you do take care of yourself.
And it's not just, of course, Mary Kay and putting on makeup's important, but do you feel you carry yourself differently when you...
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, I've always been a strong woman, independent, raised to be independent. But I can see confidence. I had confidence back then, but it's more of a God confidence now. It's a knowing that everything is going to be okay. No, the worries, they're not there like they used to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else you want to add? Any little indulgences that you wish you had time for, but you just don't because you got so much on your plate as a working mom?
I mean, right now, I don't think so. More vacation.
How old old are the in-between ones? I know you have one in the 20s and one in the 5, but you have kids in I mean, elementary, junior high, high school.
I sure do.
That's a lot. So what is your child care? You have a nanny? You still use help from family?
Well, no nanny.
Or the kids the older ones help take care of the younger ones?
Pretty much. And I've
You're
always
like a farm family.
and I've always tried to stay away from, because I know sometimes you see women who, moms who, they have the older, well, I guess the ones that are on TV, the older ones are doing it all, taking care of the younger ones. So really trying to stay away from that. But yeah, I mean, dependent on mom and dad. But I come from that type of a culture. I have Hawaiian, Chinese, Filipino background. And so we're very family oriented, family takes care of family. So blessed there as well. But when we moved away from living so close to my parents, we did eventually, I had to be okay with putting the younger ones in daycare, which was very hard for me. But now, yeah, Vivian, the youngest, she's going to be 5. She's going to be in kindergarten. She'll be starting kindergarten in the fall. She's been going to preschool. The rest of them, are in elementary. So you ask the ages. So 23, almost 18, 16, 12, soon to be 11, and then Vivian will be 5, the 11th of this month. So, yeah, it's just a little bit of everybody, helping, and just like found my 10-year-old likes to help Vivian learn how to read and write. They play, they play school all the time, which thank God. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm not much of a reader. So that is one thing I always took advantage of, is having the older one teach, read books to the next one. They're learning as well. So, that might be a little tip, I don't know, for some parents. But yeah, it's just, it's just having that tight-knit family and just making sure family always takes care of family.
And if you found this conversation helpful, inspiring, or just refreshing for shining a light on the messy parts of life, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. If you want to invest in a solution to the childcare crisis, you can reach out to me at Diane@MomSub.com about the MomSub Equity Crowdfunding Campaign, or connect with MomSub on LinkedIn or other social media platforms. That's MomSub, like a substitute mom. Remember, your career, your choices, and your success are yours to define. Keep pushing boundaries and spreading your love and encouragement to other women who need it.